quick. Main. There we go. Copy. Remember Cool Math Games? Because I never used it as a kid. Oh, there was another one. Hold on. What was that game? Look up. ED runner slash game. I'm surprised some of these are still around, mind you. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like if you want a game or some Bloxorz. Um. Okay, and yeah, we'll play Bloxorz. Okay, and perfect. Oh wait, I almost forgot to. Hold on, I almost forgot to take a screenshot of that or a picture of the title. Okay, hold on, I need to figure this out. Start a new game. I know how to play it. It's not too hard, I don't think. Tribute ASD or arrow keys, good. Okay. Those ones, it's gonna get harder. Like, I don't remember how far I got in this game, but I know it wasn't very far. One. I forgot how to do this. Well, it's been a long time since I've played it, so of course I'm gonna forget. Hold on, I need to. Hold on. How do I restart? I think it would be R, right? No. What button is that? Menu. Okay then. Well, there's no music either, so that's annoying. Whoops, almost fucked myself there. There we go. Figured it out. Should I put music on? Probably not. Honestly. Some of this is already easy. Knock on wood. Um. On how do I do this? Wait. Okay, good. That didn't happen. Oh wait, I did that wrong. There we go. Going down the nostalgia path. Oh shit. Oh, this is gonna get harder. I remember that for a fact that oh shit! What did I just say? Wait. That won't work. That definitely won't work. Wait. No, that's not what I wanted, is it? How the what? Okay, there we go. No, that's not what I want. I want this. No, I don't want that apparently. Whoops. How did I do this wrong? No. 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 Why fucking... Wait, I have an idea maybe? No, I had an idea, but then I lost the idea? I don't know. No, I lost it. Oh, nope, found it. I found the idea. Takes you a second. This game's not for everyone, you know? No, wait, hold on. Nope. 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 Whoops. That was stupid of me. Whoops. I went too fast. Yeah, I have to be directly on it. No, that won't work. That won't work either. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait. Nope, can't do that yet. Oh, I fucked myself a little. No, can't do that. Nope. Wait, what if? Hear me out. Nope. I tried that before. Nope. Whoops. Tossed myself over. Wait, hold on. Nope. Nope. God fucking damn it. Why? That won't work. Nope. Nope. Definitely not, actually. I have an idea of what I'm supposed to do, but it probably won't work the way I want it to. You know what? Just toss me off real quick. No. Wait, I did something wrong there. And you know what? I'll do that real quick. Whoa! No, I'm just kidding. That's so dumb. Okay, so I start here. Okay. Yeah, I start there. I can't do anything with that though. I wanna start here. No, that's right. Okay, there we go. Nope, never mind. Whoa! Wait, I have an idea. Whoops, that was not my idea. Shut up. Whoops, that wasn't my idea either. Shut up. No, I can't. Nope, can't do that. Nope. Whoops. Whoops. Again. No, can't do that. No. What if no, that won't work. Because I need to somehow. Nope, that won't work. That won't work. None of these things I'm thinking will work, you know? Ah! Aha! Wait, hold on. I did that wrong. No, it's not what I wanted. I want this right here. This. No, that won't work for what I'm trying to do. Oh, wait. What if, hear me out, right? Oh, wait, if I can do this right. Wait, hold on. That won't work. Okay, so start from here. Aha! Wait, is that not gonna work? What the fuck? Wait, I'm confused. Nope. No. How the fuck did I mess that up? Hold on. Okay, no, that should be right. Right? No. Won't be right. Okay, no, that's perfect. There we go, figured it out. I am a genius! Imagine there's only 10 stages. Spacebar. Which one is spacebar? This one? Okay. I forgot which one I said as spacebar. What? Oh, I have to. Oops. Let's see. Oh, I know how to do this now. Right there. You know what? I'm gonna change it to X because it'll be so much better with. Well, A. Right? A is spacebar. A can be spacebar. Right? Okay. Okay. Oh, you fucker! Dumbass. Yeah, I almost kind of had it. I played this as a kid, right? Whoa, shit. Almost that wrong. I played this as a kid, right? But I never actually, like, played it to completion or anything. Okay, I think I know why, too. Because I wasn't, well, other than I wasn't good at it. Okay, okay. I know I'm stupid, hold on. I was like, how am I gonna do it from there? And then I realized, wait a second. No, there's not only 10 stages. Okay, this is the farthest I think I've gotten. Oh, shit. How do I restart? Is there a way to restart? I can't restart. No. Um, no. You know what? There is a way to restart. I'm fucking stupid, duh. I just went around in a circle. Whoops. Nope. Okay, I think I have an idea of what I'm supposed to do here. Can't do that though. Please, I don't know if I can do that though. Judging based off everything I'm doing right now, I'm doing it wrong. Other than that, doing that on purpose, even though that won't help me in the long run. I knew that was gonna happen. So from there we go. Wait, this works like okay, that's what I was confused about. Okay, so I need to somehow wait, why am I doing that? Stupid ass. Maybe I was going the wrong way? Yeah, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, anyway. So I can't do that. You know what? Let's start over again because I saw something. Didn't do it right. No, okay, so maybe I did do it right. Somewhat. On. I almost have it. Oh shit. I almost have a basic idea of it. Um, why did I do it like that? Okay, so yeah. No, can't do that. I have this weird idea. Because that was just drop me right like that. Whoops! Okay, oh, anyway. I'm just gonna, I'm not looking up a guide, don't worry. I'm not that hopeless at the moment. Let me, just check something. Okay, sorry about that. Um, no, I can't go that way, so I have to go this way. This way, no? No, I can't do that. No. No, I can't do that. Unless, oh, wait, shit. Whoops. No, don't worry for that. Can't do that. Well, I can do this, but that's not gonna help me. Unless, nope. Just checking. That won't work. It definitely won't help me if that would. No, that won't work. I was just checking something real quick. 700, oh, 69 CX. Anyway, top, top, right, by the way. Okay, I thought I didn't have it on full screen or something. Anyway, I'm glad. What even? How do I get out of this? F11? Yeah, F11. I have cool math games. Okay. Games.com. I need to write that down. I thought they went under recently. Apparently not. Um. Okay. Whoa! I almost just fucked myself there. Whoops. No, stupid. No, that won't work. What? It'll work for something else, right? Yeah. No, it won't work for that. Oh, wait, what if? Well, no, I kind of figured it out, but not fully. Hmm. Fucking. Oh, wait. No, because that does nothing for me, you know? Unless I did that wrong. Oh, let's see. No. Wait. Wait, no. That won't work. No, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure I did something wrong here. Yes, I know what I did wrong. No, that's not what I wanted, right? That's not what I wanted at all. Can't do that though. Hmm. I may end up, you know, I almost had it. I got to that area. I don't remember how I did it to begin with. How did I do that again? Oh, right, like this. Right? No. Damn it. I forgot how I did that. Okay, I do need that though. Um, I almost had it, I think. Yeah, I thought so. I wonder if I have to change the game again. Not like that. That's where I started. Whee! Okay, and uh, that's not what I wanted. God damn it. Oh, shit. Oh, what level is this? What level is this? Stage 11, okay. Bloxorz stage 11. Because I'm having troubles with this, you know? It makes no sense why, but I am. Man, how old is it? Why is that? Okay, hold on a second. Whatever, I'll just do this. Guides, okay. Either the computer's really slow or the free web arcade. What the fuck's it? Okay, whatever. Well, at least I'll be able to, like, look at it, right? Okay. Let's see. Fuck! That was stupid of me. Okay, I get it. For the most part, I understand it. Okay. Oh. How did you do that again? Oh, okay, I see. Okay, now what do I do? I feel like this when 19 fucking years, sorry, 19 years ago. You know what? That makes sense now. Why it looks like shit. Oh, okay, hold on. How did they do this? Did I fuck up? Not the game. The game still looks, well, it's kind of blurry, but still looks good for its time. So from here, I think I did this wrong. Oh wait, no. Right here, 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 right? There we go. I would never have gotten that. That's fucking insane. Oh, sorry. Oh, I think I did something wrong here. Fuck. I did something wrong. You know what? Let's fly off. Jesus Christ, this is fucking insane. This got 19 fucking years ago. All their videos, all of their videos are Bloxorz. Like it's just every stage of Bloxorz. Holy fucking shit. Okay, what stage is this? I just want to get an idea. Okay. 12. God, there's fucking 33. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm just like so amazed by this. I'm just like amazed that videos are still there for this game, you know? And it's years old. Wait, what? Wait, I did 31 instead of 13. Whoops. Don't know how I managed that. But I'm on stage 13? Stage 12. I'm on 12. Why did I think 13? That was stupid. Wait, there. Okay. They uploaded it out of order. They uploaded stage 13 and then 12, which is weird, but also whatever. Okay, that's what I thought. Wait, what's sorry, it's slow, but not slow enough, I guess. Okay, right? No, I did that wrong, I think. I think I did that wrong. Let's see. No, I'm right. Right like this, right there. Right there. Hold on, I did that wrong. Wait, what did I do wrong here? Wait, how did I do this wrong? You know what? At this point, it may be slow on its own, but I am gonna change the playback speed way down to half. Because then I can like follow along with it, you know? If I can do this right. Right there, right there. Yeah, I had that for just like that. Oh, wait, wrong way. Oh, okay. Actually, you know what? Maybe the playback speed can be normal. Because I'm at this point now. Oh, wait, wrong way. Ooh, tricky dicky. Wait, how did it, oh, wait, how did they do this? Turn it down. Now we're over here. Wait, wait, how did they do this? Okay. Did I do this right? Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. I thought it was slow enough, but I'm just slow, I guess. Okay. Oh, I did this wrong. Hold on. Oh, okay. I see. There we go. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Right, this right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. Wait, hold on. There we go. Oh shit, this number one. I would have never gotten this. Uh, whoa, okay, I forgot about that. Shit. Imagine I'm doing this wrong again. Whoop. Okay, so from here. No, I did it again. Whoops, I did it. Why did I do that? Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen again. What? I'm only on stage 13, right? Yeah, what the fuck? Whoops, I did it again. I broke my phone and I poopy. Or something like that, I don't know. Let's see, nope, that won't work. Nope, that also won't. Oh! Hold on, I'm gonna check something. Actually, how long have I been streaming? Up 10. Now I haven't gone long enough. Well, I probably would be long enough, technically speaking. On a technical note, I probably have been going long enough, you know? If I can figure this out, what the fuck? Wait, wrong thing. I know who I'm rating out to. Actually, I think I know who I'm rating out to. Let me check. Let me check how long they've been going for, if possible. Um, Hold on. How do I freaking find it on here? Something that sounds wrong. Okay, whatever. Anyway, actually, I'll check right now. Okay, perfect. Oh, the streaming with somebody. Really? Okay, sorry about that. So, if everybody can join me for a raid, that would be greatly appreciated. If you can't, however, that's okay too. Copy out either of those raid messages and paste them into the chat of who we raid out to. We will be raiding out to Active Wolf, who has been here before. They are playing Power World right now, so if everybody can join me for a raid, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you cannot, however, that's okay too. I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I hope to see you all next time, and I hope you all have a great day and continue to have a great